Mein Name ist Frau Ingeboerg und I am the producer und director for Refashionista Sheri's channel and everything else that she does. Now, Refashionista Sheri is very, very busy working on a super amazing, exciting new project. So today I'm going to introduce this video, which is okay because it is all about back to school. And clearly I was a teacher for many, many years, so I know what I'm talking about. Now, everywhere in the world is now having back to school this, back to school that, bye. No, 9. Today, we are going to show you how easy it is to use what you have to make what you want for free using Refashionista Sheri's super simple tutorials so you can look amazingly cool to go back to school. So let's get machen. Okay, your first lesson is for the hoodie that is too tight. Don't go buy a new one. Make that one bigger. All you need is your sweatshirt or hoodie or top or whatever the heck it is that you're going to upsize and some fabric to use to upsize it. So first, flip your top inside out and make sure that the fabric you've chosen is long enough to cover the entire area where you're planning on inserting the upsizing panels. For me, I'm going to put them on the side, and this is more than enough fabric. Luckily, mine here has these wonderful even patchwork squares, so I am just going to cut it to the size of these patchwork squares, and then I will have 2 even pieces for upsizing. I'm more of an eyeball it kind of refashionista, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so because my side panels are all ready, I guess I better get the sweatshirt ready. Now, I'm not a fan of these cuffs here or this part on the bottom, so I'm going to remove them. Okay, now we're just going to cut out these thick side seams all the way from the cuff all the way through to the bottom of the sweatshirt. You should now have all of your sides totally open, and you know what? If you want to leave it like that and just wear it like it's a big poncho, by all means go ahead. Okay, so now we're going to grab one of our side panels, and you just want to line up the cut bottom edge here of your shirt or hoodie or whatever with the end of one of your side panels, and go all the way like so down to the hem of your, what's this, sleeve. There you go. And then go stitch that together. Repeat on the other side. Then you want to do the whole thing on the other side of your shirt. So here is what the first side looks like. How cool does that look? And now all I have to do is fold this back over, grab the other side of that sleeve, and then do the whole thing with the other chopped edge here, just lining it up and stitching straight down. This looks so awesome, and it is definitely upsized, but you know, the cuffs don't look great, do they? And neither does the bottom hem. Luckily, I still have those pieces left, those side pieces from the pillow sham. So I'm going to use this for my bottom hem. And I think I have enough left to go around the sleeve cuffs too. The bottom looks absolutely fantastic now. But I did not, in fact, have enough of this left over to do the sleeves, so I just grabbed the former bottom hem waistband out of my stash, and I created some bigger sleeve cuffs for my wonderful big blanket type hoodie. Next, you don't need a new bag. You can make one from an old skirt with a zipper and everything. All you need is your skirt, something to create the strap from, or you can use an old belt for a strap if you want, something for the lining fabric, and a zipper or whatever other closure you would like to have for your bag. all I'm going to do is cut these legs into strips and then fold them and stitch them all together to create one long denim strap. And my wonderfully long strap is complete, and you can see here that I did go ahead and stitch over the outside seam here just so it stays nice and flat, and now we can put the whole bag together. So I've cut my lining fabric to the correct size plus a couple of centimeters for seam allowance. Now I'm just going to attach the zipper to the lining fabric. So first, I'm just going to stitch this side to this side of my lining fabric and then fold it back and do the exact same thing on the other side. So you want to make sure that you have your zipper facing upward and you're stitching the zipper to the right side of the liner fabric, because when you put this in your bag, you want the liner fabric to be the pretty side, right? Not the wrong side of the fabric. You want it to be the right side of the fabric when you open your bag and look inside. And my lovely interior lining is done with a functional zipper, which is always awesome. So now we can grab the strap, the skirt, and get it all stitched together. So first I'm going to stitch the strap on, and I'm just going to go by the interior side seam here of the skirt and basically line that up with one side of my strap and then stitch it on there and repeat on the other side. My strap is stitched on and it's super sturdy and it's the perfect length, so I'm very happy about that. But I just want to point out that you can just stitch up the bottom and be done now if you want to. You don't have to add a liner at all. And there's so many pockets, right? You have these exterior pockets in the front and then two more in the back. So it really would be a totally functional, useful bag without adding the interior lining. But we're going to do that, of course. So I have popped my lining fabric with the zipper inside the skirt, and I'm just arranging it as close to the top of the skirt here as possible. And I've got everything tucked in that needs to be tucked in there. And now I'm just going to go really carefully stitch this on. And I think I'm going to have a little bit of a picky time here because it has these two big buttons and it's super thick here. But if I end up having to hand stitch this part, that's just what I'm going to do. And my lining is all stitched on, and I did end up hand stitching it, but I really like this result because I hand stitched it. I could get super duper close to the edge here and make sure that, of course, the zipper still opens and closes. I'm going to have to open and close it and open and close it a whole bunch, I think, or maybe put some soap along the zipper because it is a vintage reused zipper from a dress I think that I refashioned more than a few years ago, but it's still fine. It works great. And then I just stitched up the bottom of the skirt, and now the amazing messenger style bag from a denim skirt is done. Let's go give it a try. I just had a thought that maybe I should explain what I meant when I said rub some soap on the zipper. And this is something that has been around for, I think, generations and passed down this tip. If you have a zipper where the zipper head gets stuck on the teeth, but it's not broken or anything, you can just take some bar soap. This is actually my laundry soap. I don't use laundry detergent. I use this lovely lemon fresh laundry soap. And yeah, you just run it along the zipper teeth like that. That's all. And you can use any soap. It doesn't have to be this kind of soap. And then let it kind of sit, push it down, push it in, and you should be able to zip your zip much there. Look at that, much better than you did before, because the soap helps the zipper to move nice and smooth. So isn't that a fantastic tip? And speaking of bags, you can make these little ones to carry your important things for free. All you need is a single sleeve from a sweater, a couple of shoulder pads here, and something to use as a strap. Or you can also use a couple of little doily placemat thingies and something to use for a strap for that. let's put this together. This is like 2 stitches. There's no cutting, there's no nothing. The first thing I've done here is to simply attach the open ends of this long belt together to create a big loop. And now I can attach my loop to my little placemats. So I'm just going to use this part here to match up with this part here where I stitched those ends together. And that's going to be the bottom of my bag. And I'm just going to pick, I think, let's put this one to the outside. And now I'm just going to go stitch all of this around, leaving an opening at the top that is wide enough to get at least my hand and my phone through. And then I'm going to repeat that on the other side here. And it is all stitched on one side now with plenty of space at the top to get my hand and my phone in there. And I did go ahead and I just straight stitched twice around this because we don't need to do a zigzag because no stretch is needed at all. Now we are going to just do the exact same thing with the other side of this almost finished bag. And both sides are on now. Just tuck that down there. And it is absolutely an adorable little bag. But you know what? I actually think I like it better flipped out this side, because that just looks way cooler. I don't know why, but I think it does. You just need a couple of shoulder pads and another one of those fabric belts. I'm pretty sure this one came with a vintage dress. And these are huge. Like, look at that. My hand, they're bigger than my hand, pretty much. So I think the way we're going to approach this one here is the heavily padded part. I'm going to have that on the outside. Like you can see, this side is a lot more padded than this side. So I'm going to put those two together like that. And then all I'm going to do is go stitch all the way around the edge here. And then we're going to put the strap on and we're going to be done. And both of my shoulder pads are now securely stitched together. And once again, I did the double straight stitch. So we're going to flip it right side out, get everything nice and poked out there. And it's absolutely perfect. And it kind of looks like, I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but they used to have these things called Tea Cozies, and it was for like a teapot in the 70s, 80s, 60s. I don't know. I'm an old person. And it looked like this, and you put it over your teapot to keep it warm. Anyway, it could also be, oh, look, that looks like a whale. Oh, I don't know if that's a whale sound, but sorry, I'm getting distracted. It is time to put on the strap. So I want my strap to cover up these kind of endy side seams here. And I'm just going to take it and literally cover that up like that. And then just go stitch it on with a secure stitch. You know, usually you see them in bags. It's like a square and then an X in the center. I'm just going to do something like that. And I'm going to do that on both sides. And then the bag's going to be done. And now this bag is done and very, very sturdy. These straps are not going to go anywhere. And you can see here on the inside, I did do that funky little extra sturdy X there. All you need is a sweater sleeve. That is all. Just a singular sweater sleeve. So the first thing we're going to do is just cut off one sleeve. That is all. And now we're just going to flip it inside out. And now you're going to make sure that the sleeve seam is on one side. You don't want the seam going down the center of your sleeve. And we're simply going to stitch the open ends together. Both of them. We're going to stitch this closed and we're going to stitch the chopped edge closed too. And both of my ends are all stitched together. And because I don't have a fancy serger, I just have a plain old regular machine, I did 2 straight stitches and a zigzag over top of them. And the reason I put a zigzag is because it allows the knit to have that little bit of stretch that it wants to have naturally. And when I'm pulling my phone in and out of here, it's definitely going to stretch a little bit. Then on the other end, the chopped end, I did the 2 straight stitches, a zigzag, zigzag, and I finished off by chopping off the excess on the edge there with my pinking shears, and that really does help to prevent fraying. We're going to fold it in half like so, and we're simply going to chop out like a semicircle here to create the bag handle. And when I open it up, look at that. We have basically like a bag strap. And now we can easily flip this right side out. But before I do that, of course, I have to go and hem up these raw chopped edges here, just because I really don't want to have any fraying. So I'm going to do folding around like that, stitch that, then I'm going to double fold it and stitch around there. And I definitely think this is going to stretch to be big enough to go over my shoulder. And you can see here the sides of the strap and the opening of the bag are now totally hemmed up perfectly. The thing that I noticed though while I was stitching was, of course, this top part here needed to be rounded off because I just stitched straight across. So I just did a nice round stitch here again with the straight stitch, zigzag, and of course my trusty pinking shears. And now we can flip it all right side out and see what it's going to look like. And it looks absolutely awesome. When I flipped it right side out though, I did notice that the top kept curling back onto itself. So I just stitched the top edge together here. I don't know if you can see that, but I just went from like here to here, just on that top edge, and it's now extra sturdy. Let's make those tired and worn shoes and boots look cool again. All you need is your shoe that has a little tear in it, like this one here, and your wonderful stash of iron-on patches. Of course, I get it. Not everybody's going to have, you know, a file folder full of iron-on patches like I do. But again, you can use just about anything that you have around the house. And if you feel like doing some hand stitching, you could even just stitch on a little applique from a garment that you're not wearing anymore. I've gone through my patches and I think this little cute zipper one is going to be just about perfect. Look at that. And it even is going to match my shoes. So let's go get it on. So because these shoes are fabric, luckily I can use an iron-on patch to mend this tear here. And I'm just going to do exactly the same method that I do when I use any iron-on patches for any type of fabric. And going to line it up where it needs to be. Then put my patching, ironing, protecting little towel that I've been using for literal years over top of it. Because this is a shoe, it is definitely not going to be super easy, nor is it going to be flat. So we're just going to use the tip of the iron and just iron it and iron it and iron it until it is stuck on. And my little rip that was there is perfectly covered. It is not coming up anywhere, but if you decide you don't want to iron it on, you can simply stick it on with all-purpose glue or, you know, hand sew it if you feel better about doing it that way. But I think for mine, this is going to last for quite a long time. And if it starts coming up on the edges, I'm just going to add some glue to it. And now I think we can go and style it up. You'll need your groovy thrifted boots, a couple of patches, and some sturdy all-purpose glue. So your first step is to simply decide where you want to put the patches on your boots. I'm going to go ahead and stick mine right here on the heel of the boot because it's very hard and sturdy and it's not going to bend a lot, so the patches will not be seeing a lot of wear and tear back here. Now, even though these patches are already sticky on the back, I'm going to go ahead and apply some more glue, making sure I get all around the edges and the corners, just to make it extra sturdy. And then I'm going to stick it in place. Did you know that nowadays all of the cool people are wearing lounge pants to school? No? Well, we can make some. The first thing you want to do is, if there's a pattern, kind of decide which way you want your pattern to be. And then I am simply going to fold this in half with the right sides facing, like so. And then I'm going to fold it in half again. And you should have 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. And these 4 layers are going to make up the front and back of your lounge pants. Next, grab your lounge pants that you're going to be using as a template and fold them in half with the crotch or gusset area facing out, like so. Then place them on top of your folded fabric with the crotch front side area lined up with that folded edge. Now, your final positioning all depends on how high you want your actual waistband to be. And here's a major tip. Make sure to give yourself a lot of seam allowance, because it's always easier to make something smaller than it is to add fabric to make it bigger. So you should now have 2 very similarly shaped sides for your trousers, the front and the back. Now, one of these is going to already have a nice folded edge here, so you don't have to worry about sewing that. The other one is going to be open pretty much everywhere and just be 2 pieces of fabric. So what you want to do first is go straight down from the crotch point. Do not sew anything above that crotch point. And then on the other pieces of fabric that are both totally open, do the same thing, stitch down from the crotch point, as well as stitching all the way down that open edge. So now you should have 2 tubes of fabric that each have a V kind of cut out on one side. So now you want to take one of your tubes and turn it right side out, as I have done with this one. Then you want to pop it inside the other tube of fabric. Now this one is still inside out, so you're going to have the right sides facing. And once you have one inside the other, you want to kind of shake it all together so those V's are lined up. And again, the fabric should be right sides facing together. The V area needs to be lined up. And then you just go ahead and stitch those V's together. You really now can see how these are turning into lounge pants. So I have my casing stitched here, and I have my elastic and my safety pin. So now it's just a matter of feeding this through. Once you have your elastic fed all the way through your waistband casing, then it's time to stitch the ends together and tuck it inside that opening, close the opening, and pop your lounge pants on. Who decided that cardigans and other clothing doesn't need pockets? I don't know, but here's a way you can add them to almost anything. So of course, the first thing you have to do is lay your cardigan out flat and decide where you want your pockets to be. I'm just going to put mine in the normal traditional front pocket placement here above the bottom hem. Then you're going to grab your Beetlejuice lunchbox if you have one. And you see, look, in here I have some chopped pockets from other projects where I just removed the pockets, and I just hold on to these to use as templates. Now this one is way too big. This shape I think is cute, but let's not overcomplicate it. So let's go with this one. And I think that's awesome. And if you watched that tutorial, you should remember that I also had these fake pocket flaps that were on the front of that dress. So I'm actually going to use them for real pocket flaps on this project. I have my leftover piece of fabric and I folded it pretty evenly in half, I think. But there is a method to the folding madness here, and you will see that here are 1, 2, 3, 4 finished edges, and whenever I can utilize existing seams or finished edges or button plackets or zippers, anything like that, I'm definitely going to do it because it just saves so much time. So now I'm going to put my pocket template on the top here, and because this top edge and this side are finished, I can go as close to those finished edges as possible and then just pin it in place. And now I can just go and cut it out, making sure that I leave at least a couple of centimeters on the chopped edges here for seam allowance. So now I'm just going to go and fold in the chopped edges and stitch them down so I don't have to worry about anything flippy flapping around when I attach it to the cardigan. And my very simple but totally functional pockets are done. And if we grab the little pocket flaps, how cute is that going to be? So now it's time to get everything onto the cardigan. That is going to be so freaking cutie patootie, but I think first I have to stitch on just these pocket flaps here, and I'm just going to do a quick stitch just straight across where it folds, and then after put on the pockets so everything is going to be hopefully as even as possible. And the pockets are all stitched on, and you know what? They are totally functional. So now let's go try it on and style it up. Make an ugly sweatshirt into something you want to wear with a little cut and a little sew. All you need is a plain sweatshirt or long sleeve t-shirt and your lovely bits that hopefully you've been saving to use as embellishments. I have been holding on to this stunning, sparkly, sequined owl for way too many years, and it's finally going to get a new life today. So because this sweat top has these hideous long ties on the very cool bell sleeves here, I think you're supposed to like tie them all up, and I don't know, but they're ugly. It's really ugly. So I'm first going to carefully remove these ties. They're both off and they're actually very, very sturdy. So I'm going to hold on to these in my stash and perhaps use them to make a bag. I'm not thrilled about the length of this, so I'm just going to crop it a bit. And I have my fancy owl all pinned in place, so now all I have to do is go stitch it on. And now you can take the pieces from that chopped up sweatshirt to make your tiny t-shirt fit so much better. So I was just going to flip this inside out, and I noticed it has a couple of holes on the bottom here, so I am just going to chop it off and make this a cropped upsized t-shirt. And now I can simply chop off those side seams to open up the shirt. Now I'm going to cut the chopped bottom of that sweatshirt to the size of side panels that I need. I have my t-shirt laying flat with the front facing up, and I'm going to grab one of my side panels and simply line it up with the bottom of my chopped underarm seam, and then go stitch it together all the way down to the bottom. And this is all stitched on and of course looking lovely. And you can see here I did also take a couple of seconds before I stitched it on, and I did hem up the raw edge of this insert simply because that would be in my armpit and I don't think it would feel very nice. But because it is sweatshirt material, you don't actually have to hem anything. So because one side is done, now I just have to grab the matching side of the t-shirt. So now we're working with the back of the t-shirt and line up those edges again, and then go stitch that together and repeat the whole process on the other open side of the shirt. And the shirt is finished and it fits so much better. It's so much more comfortable now, and the side panels look awesome. I did have to chop off the overhang on the bottom, but you know what? Speaking of the bottom, if you want to leave yours just kind of deconstructed like this, it's a t-shirt. So when you stretch it, you see it curls up onto itself. You don't have to hem it. But I remembered that I still have the bottom hem left over from the sweatshirt, which before I put the lovely owl applique on and shortened it. And now we've used this part for the side panels. So you know what? Let's just add this bottom hem of the sweatshirt to this t-shirt, and then it'll be totally finished. So I lined up the side seams of the waistband with the approximate side seams of the shirt. I mean, with side panels, there really is no definite side seams anymore. I did that on both sides, and now I'm just going to go stitch it together. And the shirt is now done, and that looks fabulous on the bottom. The side panels are awesome as well. Now, this t-shirt was a lot thinner than the sweatshirt fabric, so I did my stitch in the ditch technique, and that is where you simply stitch over top of that outside seam here, and it really does help it to lay flatter and not kind of roll up because the fabrics are different weights. A massive vielen lieben Dank to Frau Ingeborg for taking over the hosting duties for this video. As she mentioned, I have been so incredibly busy with an absolutely amazingly exciting project, which you can check out at againball.ca. But if you want to go even further into my project and see all the behind the scenes, check out all of my upcoming events, I highly recommend joining my rockin' Refashionista crew, because I'll be sharing absolutely everything over there. And of course, you have to let me know which of these projects from today's video you are actually going to try making, which ones maybe you've already created. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I'll catch ya on the zigzag. And for anyone who's making it to the end of my videos, I hope you've been enjoying my fun little bloopers at the end. Plus, here's an extra special message from Frau Ingeborg just for you. So, it has come to my attention that some of you are thinking that I am actually Refashionista Sheri, and that is clearly not true, because, you know, she has many members of her staff, and we all work very hard behind the scenes so you can enjoy these amazing free videos. And just to prove that I am in fact not Refashionista Sheri, here's Refashionista Sheri. She is right here. So, you see, we are not the same person at all. And if you want to continue seeing these fantastic videos, you must subscribe. And of course, leave comments down below if you want to see more of me or any of her other staff of characters, because we're all just waiting for our chance to be in front of the camera again.
This is Confessions of a Refashionista.